Hey, this is Dave Shepard. We're going to get started in just a few minutes.
Space unicorns soaring through the stars, delivering the rainbows all around the world. Space unicorn shining in the night, smiles and hugs forever all around the world. So pure of heart and strong of mind, so true of aim with his marshmallow laser. Marshmallow laser. Space unicorn soaring through the stars, delivering the rainbows all around the world. Delivering the rainbow. Delivering the rainbow.
Chimpanzee riding on a Segway, chimpanzee riding on a Segway, chimpanzee riding on a Segway, bam, 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 bam. Chimpanzee riding on a Segway, chimpanzee riding on a Segway, chimpanzee riding on a Segway, bam, 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 bam. He's got fancy cars, you can't sell to me. I spend all of my money on celery. Guarantee there's no stopping me when the plate I see contains a broccoli. Like I told you before, I'm hardcore. All the food that I score goes in the vegetable drawer. Some people bring soda to your house and share it, but the party don't start till I show up with my carrot. Call Dr. Phil and want Oprah. I'm gonna eat up all of the okra. I'm notorious, I'm nefarious. I don't spare one spear of asparagus. Think you're tough, you think you're hard. I'm gonna eat the chard right out your yard. My enemies cower when they feel the power that I gain when I devour a cauliflower. I like vegetables. Vegetables. Oh! I could eat a billion turnips. Let me hear you shout, let me hear you shout. I'm gonna get crazy on a Brussels sprout. We're gonna get crazy on a Brussels sprout. We're gonna get crazy on a Brussels sprout. Yeah! You gotta rock that cabbage. Come on! I like vegetables. Vegetables. She's a young girl. Trying to chipmunk.
Nom 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 nom.
Sandwich. See him. Guinea pig.
He's a cat. Flushing a toilet, 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 he's a cat. Flushing a toilet. He does not care if he's wasting water. He likes to push the handle and watch the water go down. He's a cat. Flushing a toilet, 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 he's a cat. Flushing a toilet.
Spread your wings, neon Pegasus, and go flying through the night. They can take your glitter, but they can't take away your sparkle. And the thousand-armed robot octopus will try to grab your golden reins, but your wings are strong from the battle over Cupcake Mountain. Never again to be lonely, never again to be without a home, never to bow to the Gully King's throne. Never again, never again, never again to be put down by the marzipan girl at the Silver Lake Lounge, soaring over it all, high up in the clouds. Never again, never again. Yeah, when I first saw you defeating the Gummy King's gluten-powered armada in the darkness of space, I knew you were no ordinary Pegasus. Unbreak your heart, neon Pegasus, and go climbing through the stars. Out there with your dreams, your sparkly dreams. And the genetically modified salamander with a face just like George Clooney can't track you down with the rockabilly worm from Spaceland. Never again to be lonely, never again to be without a home, never to bow to the Gummy King's throne. Never again, never again, never again to be put down by the marzipan girl at the Silver Lake Lounge, soaring over it all, high up in the clouds. Never again, never again. No matter how insane and ridiculous they seem, you must follow your dreams.
All right, hope y'all are doing great. Welcome to today. Today is studio day. We're going to go ahead and get started. And first off, we'll get started with some announcements. Announcements for today, pretty straightforward. As you might expect, the MVP is due today. MVP is due today, minimum viable product. Get me a 1.5 minute video of your demonstrating your minimum viable product, upload it to Gradescope. That is what is due today. Now, the other thing is you are going to need to do commits. You need to prove that you yourself have been committing to this project. Not that your friend has been committing, not that your group mates have been committing, but that you have been committing. Please prove to me that you have contributed in some way to this project. I've heard questions like, I'm more of a designer. How can I show that I am committing to this project? Well, you can commit designs to the project. If you, for whatever reason, I would encourage you also to work on the code. The code is the number one thing that I'm going to be looking for. But if you're a designer and you want to get credit for those design parts that you're doing, which would be totally fine with me, upload a screenshot of your design, and then when you update it later, upload a new screenshot of it. Then I can see the evolution of your design. Whatever work you're going to do, document it on GitHub. I'll take questions in just a minute. And I also want to mention, not today, but next Friday, there will be the midterm exam. Now, because we're doing midterm exams remotely, of course, it's going to be an open book kind of exam. And the best way to avoid your open book, but you're not allowed to talk to your friends, you're not allowed to do anything like that. one of the best ways to avoid cheating on these types of tests, by the way, I really am not a big fan of cheating. If I figure out that you cheat, I will have a problem with it for sure. The best way to avoid any temptation to cheat is for me to ask you to do some unique design, some design that is unique to you. So very likely that this exam will include one or more questions that are very similar to these studio questions, which we do on a regular basis. So be prepared next week, which is next Friday, to do something like the studio day, except for an exam. The reason that those are at least harder to cheat on than other things is because the test will be released at the beginning of the class. You will have until the end of the hour to turn it in, and you will be responsible for creating a design of your own, and it will not, at least not look like other people's, or else, of course, I'll know that you're working together. So we'll probably do something like that. And then you'll get graded on the quality of your design or something like that. All right, so with those announcements, I wanted to go ahead and open it up to questions because I know there might be questions around MVPs and stuff like that. I see a question, so put your questions in Menti right now if you have any related to MVPs or anything that you're supposed to be doing today. I see a question in the chat. If we screenshot our commits from the GitHub desktop, what format do you want us to show your commits? Just show me your commits from GitHub. Okay, let me just show you. GitHub. All right, here is, for instance, here is a GitHub project, right? And it has a lot of commits. I'll click on these commits. I believe if you want to see commits from a certain person, you can click on that person's name. Now you can see that repository with the commits of this user. And I would like to see a screenshot of this. You know, you could just either screenshot it or you could print the PDF, but make sure you get all those commits in there. Okay. And, you know, these show all the commits, not just the commits that show here. You might need to click on older to show all of them. All right, cool. Let me go back to Menti, see if they're... how much styling should the MVP have? Does it need to have any? Okay, so one issue that I want to bring up on like deliverables and stuff, of course, this is all like kind of competitive, meaning that you're going to be compared against your peers, because that's just the way life goes. You'll be compared against your coworkers. So, you know, it depends on how much styling everybody else does and stuff like that. But here's the most important factor. The factor is you need to deliver something that doesn't embarrass your team and you. Imagine, again, that you're showing your MVP to your boss. He or she knows how much time that you've had to work on it and has realistic expectations on what that should look like. If you show something that is like super pitiful for the time allowed and super ugly and bad fonts and everything's out of alignment, that would be embarrassing to show in front of your boss. So just pretend like you are showing a deliverable to your boss. What would you want to do? You know, you want it to be as good as possible. If it doesn't have styling, like a bunch of styling, maybe just have minimal styling that doesn't look awful, right? Maybe don't worry about the coloring, just worry about the fonts and the alignment or something. Again, it's all about what could you show to your boss that's going to look reasonable and not embarrassing you. So minimal styling would be fine. Use the same approach to styling as you do to the MVP, just the basics, the littlest you can do to give me a sense of kind of what your app's going to look like. Somebody's asking if we make like 2 to 3 big commits, is that bad? No, we're looking for participation in the project. We're not looking for, in my software engineering class, I would look for regular commits, and I still recommend that you do regular commits like once a day or several times a week. However, in this project, I will look for contributions, not necessarily how you're contributing. So yeah, 2 or 3 big commits would be fine. I'm really just looking for, have you as an individual contributed to the project? I don't care how you've done it. Somebody's asking, will there be a study guide for the midterm, or is it just the heuristics? Of course, it's just all the lectures that we've had up to this point. You can look at those in the syllabus. They're all linked from the syllabus. That's essentially the study guide. Again, on Wednesday, I will either have class and have like a quiz kind of thing that walks you through a few things I'd want you to know, or I'll release a study guide that day that you can check out. Remember, it's going to be a lot like these studio days. So if you're coming to studio days, you're in good shape. And next week on Wednesday and Friday, I do have NSF, which is the funding source, the funding agency meetings. So I may or may not have live class, but I will definitely get you something on Wednesday, either live class or some kind of study guide, so that you can have something. I know you students in general love to have study guides for whatever reason. I would, if I were you, I would just look at the slides, just go through the slides one time, and I think that would be pretty sufficient. But for whatever reason, y'all love study guides, and so I can give you something on Wednesday, either in class or just via email. Yeah, I see on the syllabus that we would have 24 hours to complete the take-home, midterm, and final, but seeing, as you just said, we only have till end of class, it has now been modified. Yes, so, and I honestly, I think this is in your favor. It has been modified. You're absolutely right. I did modify it. So here's the deal. If you get 24 hours, the expectations of what you deliver are like really high, really high. So it's almost like doing another project, right? And so I did that last semester, and I thought about it since I made the syllabus, and I decided it's actually more fair to y'all if I just give you an hour. Whatever you can do in the hour is affected by how much you've studied, for sure, but it only takes an hour of your time. It doesn't take like a whole day of your time. And so I think that's a fair use of your time, and I believe I can still figure out who has learned the heuristics and how to apply them and who hasn't in that time. So it has changed, but I think it's changed for the better for y'all. Somebody's asking, are you looking for anything specific in the MVP? Mainly looking for, is it working? Is it working, and is it not embarrassing to you? That's what I'm looking for. I guess I'm also looking for a clear understanding of how your app works. Sometimes in the UI mockups, I had some confusion on how the app was going to work. And so I'd really like to have a clear understanding of how the apps were going to work through the demo. That would be really cool. Somebody's asking, should our MVP look exactly like the mockups, or can they look a little different? That's up to you. They can absolutely look a little different, especially if there was some feedback I gave you that, helped you change direction a little bit. So that you're not stuck to what your your mockups look like. You can change it as you see fit as the class evolves. The way you're showing commits will show everyone from my groups. Is that okay? No, not true. So here I've shown commits and I've filtered. You see that author equals Bowden 7? I'll just send that example to you. I think that repository is public. So you can see that question mark author equals Bowden 7. That filters it to only the user Bowden 7. If I want to go and see everybody's, I take that off. And then you'll see, if I go to older, that much older, other people did commit. Well, shoot. It's a bad example, but I did have the Bowden user filter there. So I'm pretty sure it's going to only show the commits from that person. So only show the commits from yourself. Somebody saying, I'm pretty worried about the time if we'll be drawing designs during the exam. I always take forever, and I'm the last submission for studio days. Look, I completely understand. This is, it's always a balance between like time and like giving you enough time, but not too much time. The more time I give you, the higher the bar becomes in terms of grading. So yeah, it's always a trade-off. I know, like, I will take the exam myself and then I times it by, I think I times it by like 4 or 8, I forget exactly, to give you, like, I take it and then I times the time it took me by 4, I believe, to give you enough time to do it. And if I can't do it, like, so for a 60-minute class, if I can't do the entire exam with an A plus 100 effort in 15 minutes, then I redo something. So I really go out of my way to make sure that you can finish in time. I don't think you're going to have any problems completing it, especially because it'll be design task. You'll be able to turn in something. You may not have all the time in the world to make it like the highest fidelity prototype in the world, but you will have time to complete it. So I would just say, don't worry about this as much. You're overthinking this. I think you're going to be fine as long as you study and know how to do heuristics and you've been to studio days, you're going to be fine. Somebody's asking a lot of questions today. For the MVP video, is only one person submitting it from the group? Yep. The MVP video is a group submission. The commits is an individual submission. So it's 2 different types of submissions. The MVP video, you submit as a group. Make sure you add all your group mates. We've had some problems with people forgetting to add their group mates, which is not good for grades. And so yeah, for the MVP video, that's a group submission. For the commits, that's an individual submission. Make sure you're sure you submit both things. You got to submit both things. There's actually 2 deliverables due today. Of course, they are for the same work, but 2 deliverables due today. Somebody's saying competitive grading sounds kind of unfair, to be honest, especially since some teams may have more experienced people in them than others in certain areas. Yeah, I mean, competitive anything is kind of by nature unfair, right? Like Tiger Woods had parents that or at least a dad that taught him to do golf from the time he was like 2 years old. And yeah, that's unfair compared to somebody that didn't play golf until they were 5 years old. What I'm trying to get at is that performance in jobs and in everything is kind of by nature unfair. Life is a little unfair, and that's the nature of things. I won't be doing this on a curve or anything, so you don't worry about that. But this is just a small step to get you used to what it's going to be like in the real world. Here's the thinking. If you are showing your prototype to the boss on the same week that somebody else is showing their prototype to the boss, you don't want to embarrass yourself. That's the level of competitiveness I'm going to be taking into account. So like if one prototype is way up here and one is like way down here, the one that's way down here is going to have a problem, right? But if there's smaller differences, you're going to be fine. So this is a small step towards getting used to what it's like in the real world. This is not overly competitive grading, and this is definitely not grading on the curb. Somebody said, man, lots of questions today. Somebody's asking how much should be done for the MVP, have buttons working or more than that. So the MVP is all about communicating your idea of how your app should work and does work at a very minimal level. So let's say I had a calculator. That's an app you could make. So a calculator. If I wanted to show an MVP for a calculator, maybe I show a calculator that just has the numbers, the number keys, and an enter, and it only works for like plus and minus. Maybe it doesn't work for times and division because I don't want to deal with decimals yet or something, right? Or maybe it doesn't have decimals yet because I don't want to deal with that yet. You just want to get the very basics of the app so that I can understand what the full app is going to eventually be like. So just give me the basics. I want to understand how it's going to work. I want a walkthrough of the basics. Somebody's asking, are we going to need to update our wireframe to reflect our app for grading purposes? No. You can update your wireframe if you want to communicate with your team. And again, I'd commit those to the repository just to get credit for that kind of work. But I'm not going to look at your wireframe. I'm going to start looking at your end product now. However, the people that do good wireframes and update their wireframes and communicate with their team better, they're going to probably get better grades. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work. Somebody said, I just tried to filter to only see my own commits, but it gave me an error 404. This is, probably true. Like maybe you're having some problems with GitHub, but I promise you this is possible on GitHub. And I want to I also want to mention that you'll need to make your repositories public, or you'll need to share it with me. My username is David C. Shepard. Make sure I can see it, or else I won't be able to give you a grade. So I just want to say for this, I promise you it's possible. Most of y'all are computer science majors. I think you can figure this out. Make sure you talk to your group mates to help figure this out, okay? I know y'all are a smart group. I've had some great submissions already this year. Y'all can do it. All right. Somebody's asking, would we get points off if you can't choose the number of players yet and it automatically has 2? It would still calculate the winner between the 2. No, that's a great trade-off. This is a great, for those of you that are wondering about what an MVP is, this is a great trade-off. Like, hey, we don't support N players, but we support 2 players. And with 2 players, you can see what happens when somebody wins. That's great. Something like this would be great. No points off for anything like this. This is nice. Somebody's asking, I'm worried that those who are quicker at drawing than me will be compared against my tests and I'll get a lower grade because of it. Well, and I completely understand this. I don't want to sound harsh, because really I'm not a very harsh grader, but this is a little bit the real world. Like, people that work faster, if they work of the same quality, they generally get paid more because they're working faster and getting more done. That's how the world works. So this is a worry, but this is a legitimate concern. But you won't get, like, the midterm will not be curved. Okay, it's not going to be like I'm not going to compare super fine-grained amongst people, okay? I'm just looking for good designs, which will get good grades, and bad designs, which will get bad grades. So a little bit difference in drawing or like finishing of the drawing will not really cost you. So anything related to small differences in time is just not going to be a big deal. So just calm down a little bit. It's not going to be like a super fine-grained thing. I think you're going to be fine. Somebody's asking, will we be using Figma on the exam? You can use Figma on the exam. Like anytime you draw a design, just like in Studio here, you can use Figma if you want to use Figma to draw. And if you're good at Figma, that's probably a nice way to do it, because you can whip up some good designs, reuse some parts that other people have defined, and make a really nice design quickly. But you do not have to. You can, but you do not have to. You can always draw by hand. I don't care what tool you use to draw. Figma is a great one. There's other ones out there, but you don't have to. All right, I mentioned studying. Do you have any tips for studying in this class? Besides the 10 heuristics, I'm not really sure what our content source is. Well, again, our content source is all the slides that we've gone over. So remember, we've done things like we've touched on how to use colors. We've touched on UI guidelines, like what are UI guidelines for Android and things like that. We've exposed you to accessibility guidelines. So you should I would focus my studying on the 10 heuristics and how to apply them, which is what we've been doing in Studio, so basically you've already studied a lot of that. If you've been to Studio, if you haven't, you need to look back at the Studio and study. But you need to be aware of things like UI guidelines and color guidelines and accessibility guidelines. So, study the heuristics and apply the heuristics, but be aware of all of the other type of guidelines. And you can do that just by running through the slides one more time. Yeah, and so I think this is a great point. Thanks whoever wrote this up. Like I've mentioned before, don't come and talk to me about like a 1 point difference in your grade. And I don't want to talk about every one little point difference, but I did have a group come to me and I had taken off 5 points for something, and I'd actually done it incorrectly on one of their project things, and they came and explained it to me, and I was able to look at what they delivered, and I saw like, yes, in fact, I was wrong on that point, and I changed their grade. So I'm pretty relaxed about grading, and I'm willing to change. If I make mistakes and you bring them to my attention, I will absolutely change them. So I'm pretty reasonable with grading. Thanks for this plug. Appreciate it. All right, cool. I don't know what that means. Yes, so somebody's asking, is there a way we can get access to these slides aside from rewatching the videos? Yes, go to the syllabus. The syllabus, the syllabus, the syllabus. All right, I think that's it. We'll have more questions at the end. Wow, that was a lot of questions. I know this is a rough part of the semester, so hope y'all are making it okay. It's kind of coming to an end, this part of the semester, and hopefully things will be back to relatively chill. Now, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to focus on beauty and aesthetics. And again, this isn't an art class, so and I'm not an artist by any means. So, with that in mind, what I want you to do is design a calculator, make it as pretty, as beautiful as you possibly can. And make it, of course, in the form of a phone app. Okay, so in the form of a phone app, make a calculator, make it as beautiful as you can. It doesn't necessarily have to be the most full functioning calculator. It could be just something that's basic, for basic addition, subtraction, stuff like, and multiplication and stuff like that. Doesn't need to be scientific or anything, but the focus is a beautiful phone app that's a calculator. I'm gonna give you 2 songs or 1 long song to do this, and let me get you some appropriate music. So I'm gonna try and get you some music to get you in the mood to make some beautiful, interface for a calculator. Let me find this song that I was looking for. And where are you? And so you can go ahead and do it, and then you're going to go ahead and upload it there, just like we have in the past. Oh, there it was. I just passed it. All right, I think it is this. Yeah, there we go. Make a sophisticated interface for a calculator. Upload it here. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Make it beautiful. All right, how are y'all doing? Y'all need some more time, or are you wrapping it up, or what's going down? Let me know in the chat. How are y'all doing? You need a little more time? All right, cool. I'll give you a little more time. Let's see.
This is a little tune, you know, if you could call this one funky, that we do that's based upon a rhythm that's a common one used dancing, and it has been used for a long time. This one is called a sack of woe. One, two, one, two, three.
All right, and do y'all need a little more time? Are you doing kind of wrapping it up? All right, let's just go ahead and put whatever you got up there. All right, I'll put my awesome one up there too. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at what y'all did. All right, let me get back to here. All right, you guys can just continue to upload when you're ready. I know this one takes a while. This was harder than I thought, to be honest. Let's see what we got here. Check out my beautiful one. Here is mine. I kind of, like y'all, I kind of was running low on time towards the end. This is what I did. I had the numbers real big up top of whatever I was doing. Like I typed in 2 plus 3 up here. This is the execute button, and this is the answer. These are the numbers that you press, and then these are the buttons that you press for the basic times and stuff like that. All right, I'll let y'all critique me. Any critiques on this that you would have for me? Let me have it. It's hard to innovate on a calculator, I must say. Hit me up in the chat. What do you think's good and or bad? I will not hold it against you. Especially try and find some stuff that could be better, so we can all learn together. Yep, it's a bit unorthodox with the results in the bottom right. So I am not following kind of like what is it called? Man, wow, I can't remember that word right now. Consistency and standards. I'm not being consistent. That's a little bit different. And somebody else is saying, I don't know how like clear it is that this is the execute button. Because that's, again, a consistency and standards issue. I could maybe put a different button here. Ooh, the number layout is reversed. I didn't even think about that, actually. That's so I would actually change that. The number layout being reversed is a big deal. You should always have the same number layout. So I would switch that. I think it's, what is it, usually 987. I don't have a numpad here, which is why I got that wrong. But I would, hold on, let me check my own calculator here. What does that look like? Yeah, so it's usually 7, 8, 9 at the top, 4, 5, 6 in the middle, and 1, 2, 3 at the bottom. I would switch it to be that. Yeah, I didn't have a 0 because it would have messed up my design. Obviously, I would work out some way to put back in the 0 if this was going to be released. Good catch. Some people say the answer should be on top of the screen. Maybe. I don't like your placement of everything. Okay. Yeah, so I think if we had to say one thing that was wrong with this, it would be conventions are not being followed, right? I would definitely switch the layout. And so that's the main thing. There is no backspace. That's a good point. No backspace. That's just an oversight, though. So I would need to add a backspace. One of the things I want to mention, though, is with good design, if you're gonna, so I wouldn't, if you're just going for like a really slick looking calculator, if you make it just look exactly like the normal calculator, that's not very exciting. sometimes you'll need to break consistency and standards to make something look more interesting. However, you don't want to do it with like multiple things. Like the fact that this breaks it and this breaks it and I have the layout wrong here. You know, it's just too many things that are different. But if I chose to do just one of those things different, like have the answer at the bottom and have everything else make a lot of sense, maybe that's okay. You know, breaking one consistency and standards issue is probably okay. Breaking like 10 of them is not okay. All right, let's look at a few of y'all's. Let's see. Here we got a cool one. Check it out. Anybody got any comments on this one? Can you give me some comments on this one? Good and bad comments. Zero is important. So, yeah, one of the things that's really cool about this is the result is the most important, although the result is wrong, right? It should be 26. Yeah, this is probably identical to like the iPhone calculator, but it's cool. Result should be probably 26. Maybe have it equals there. What I like about it's got a nice color scheme. You know, it's using like essentially a monochromatic color scheme, gray and black, with one accent to show that these are different. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of cool things about this. It is a little weird that this is a different shape. I would maybe have gone with like a different, different shape here. But overall, yeah, this is pretty cool. Let's take a look at some different ones. Ooh, this is pretty. So what I like about this one is this is kind of like old school, like it just looks like an old school calculator, you know, which is like a cool aesthetic. It's really got a nice color scheme. We got light green with a dark gray, and then that kind of beigey with, again, dark. So this is cool, really cool color scheme. What I also like is it looks like they're intending to use some kind of cursive up here, which of course you can't really do with letters, but you know, it implies that this is like friendly, right? Like we talked about branding guidelines. I mean, you guys always say that we don't learn anything in this class, which hurts my heart, by the way. But we have learned branding guidelines and how you talk as a app to the person matters. So if your app comes up and your calculator says hello, it's like friendly, you know, and of course that's going to go away when you start typing in letters and stuff. I mean, numbers, but this is kind of a more complete prototype because it has like some emotion and it has like kind of a vibe to it. Clear design goal of like looking like an old school calculator. It's got some cool things like equal and enter being right next to each other and both being large, because those are the things you're really trying to hit the most. And then all the numbers being smaller. I personally like the layout where the ones are on the top, but I know that a lot of these other calculators have the reverse layout, so that's would be something to think and talk about the consistency and standards there. But this is a really cool design. Whoever did this, nice job. We'll look at maybe one more. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's try and look at a different one. Like, let's go for a couple different ones. All right, like this is really different, right? This could potentially be interesting because they've decided to lay out buttons totally differently. one thing that could be really interesting if you wanted to make this like really cool for a phone app is think about, your thumb kind of usually starts here in the bottom corner. You could actually like arc these buttons out in the corner, and that might be actually more convenient to use because everything's closer to the thumb. So this kind of direction, although it's like kind of weird, right? It could lead to something that is cool and new and innovative. So, it's an early prototype, but I think it's interesting to think about totally laying this stuff out differently. This one clearly has a style, kind of computery font, good standard layout. I still don't like that weird shape for the zero that people seem to have. iPhone must have that, but everything else is cool, very cool and consistent. Nice colors. Of course, this one's beautiful, as we discussed. This one is fun, right? Like it's fun, but I think these colors kind of maybe don't quite work together. Maybe this one has too hot. It's like too hot. I don't know how to say that correctly. All right. So we ran out of time today because we had a lot of questions, and maybe you guys have a few more questions. Good work on this in general. We'll have to come back to some of these tasks, but I'm going to open it up, to questions now. All right, so that's it for the lecture today. It is now 11:51. So that's it for the lecture, or the studio today. Sorry we only got through one today, but we had a lot of questions. I want to, again, open it up if you have any more questions, especially because MVP day is today. You need to have that turned in. Somebody's asking, are we turning in your calculator design to grade scope? I believe not for today. Let me double check. I can't remember whether so I do this, kind of randomly on studio days. Some days I do and some days I don't. Yes, you are supposed to turn in your calculator design to grade scope today. Oh, wait, no. No, you're not. There is nothing is available to submit today. No, so you do not need to turn it in today. Yeah, so you do not need to turn in your calculator design today. You do not need to turn it in. You can, of course, put it on the Google photo book that I just had up, and that is how, if somebody's on the border between an A and a B or a B and a C, remember I use those submissions to help put people over the edge. My GitHub account is David C. Shepard. Feel free to invite me or to make your repository public. You can submit it. Remember, anything that you submit here to these kind of folders that counts like essentially for extra credit. If you're between grades, these will be used as tiebreakers. My GitHub name is David C. Shepard. I put it in the chat in case you want to invite me. Thank you. Have a good day yourself. I will have a good day. It's Friday. Somebody's asking, is it a problem if our MVP is more like a complete app? No. Is it a problem if you get an A+? Ask yourself, is it a problem if you get an A+? No. If you do extra, it's almost never a problem. If your app is super beautiful and way better and way farther along than anybody else's, you will definitely not have a problem. So that is not a problem. All right, looks like we're out of questions for today. Great work today on those calculators. Some of those were really cool, and I will see y'all on Monday. Have a great weekend.